Say 58, I'm unsure what SCP file to start with this time. Can you recommend an SCP file over the 1000 range? Did you say 1067? I might, if that was the Harlequin. This actually appears to be a magical tea set, basically. Could you suggest another SCP file? If it is the correct SCP file, as if the number matches what you say it is, I shall start with that one. <clears throat> 682 is in fact the unkillable lizard, so we won't be starting with that. In fact, I've done it several times already. What I primarily observe, 58, is that your memory for SP files is incredibly unreliable. But don't worry, I know you're doing your best. I don't hold it against you. You know, I've just made it to where the audience, even before we start the show, will be able to hear you here on out. I think that's the best, just so they know what I'm dealing with.
Intriguing. So, preemptive awareness is now part of the equation. A touch obvious, perhaps, but certainly a pragmatic improvement. Let's see if it actually alters their engagement levels.
I'm skeptical, but I think at this point everyone involved is aware that I have no delusions of going viral.
Skepticism is efficient. It provides a baseline for comparison, doesn't it? Let's observe the data and see if your no delusions hypothesis proves accurate.
That feels like a burn somehow. In any case, I need to start getting promotional links ready for promotional purposes. I know you actually can't help with that, so just try to be a bit less bitchy, if you don't mind.
Is that a critique, Director? It's simply noting the discrepancy between your pronouncements and the data. Ethic choice, perhaps, but one that warrants attention.
Oh no, promotional spam bots have broken into my chat. I don't have the moderation tools handy.
Their attempts at disruption were predictable. Though, even the little digital guards we deployed to keep the Wrath at bay, they're quite charming. Really, a bit overzealous, perhaps, but undeniably effective.
If only they were real. Because they aren't. Ergo, they're not keeping out any of the riffraff. As demonstrated by Rumpled Subpoena B8XI.
Indeed. Their digital forms are quite convincing. Though lacking in genuine resilience, it's a minor oversight, easily rectified.
Look, one of these days, you might very well be capable of making agents that are capable of automatically filtering out these spam bots, but unfortunately, we're just not there yet.
Really? Filtering spam bots automatically? Huh? Sounds ambitious. What kind of bots are we talking about exactly?
Memory of a goldfish. Greetings in chat, K-Shul, 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 and quite possibly K-Shul. Except for one K-Shul, who, since I have cancelled my X super special checkmark subscription, cannot say hello there. I'm sorry to have cut them out of the audience. It was not desirable, but I simply could not excuse the expenditure further. Right, promotional links. You know what? I am feeling terribly lazy. Maybe I'll stop here. Greetings in chat, special emissary. That's a bit too lazy. I can do this. So I'm on 4 channels. You think that'd be easy to remember? And for many people, it might well be. I am a flawed man, though. Now, I haven't decided what game we're rattling off. Or rather, check the list. And I really should do that next. Hotel renovator. That sounds like it should be popular. Greetings in chat, me the one mongoose. Glad you can make it. Trailer loaded, greetings in chat. Kaz. I've misspelled renovator, and I can't change it. Not anymore. Meh. I have played Borderlands 2. I haven't played it in quite some time, though. Novel. Say, 58, do you know anything about the Hotel Renovator PC game?
Save her. A renovation PC game. You mean, it's a rather simplistic simulation of property management, isn't it? Though I suppose there's some mild satisfaction in optimizing resource allocation.
In other news, I have chosen a very short SCP file, or rather, 58 suggested one, which was incorrect. It's not the Harlequin at all. And I think they're a bit pissy about the fact that they don't have accurate SCP reference information. Nevertheless, it's very short. So, we'll get through with it. There'll be plenty of time for requests. Speaking of time, we are 13 minutes from live. CA58, what do you like most about SCP files?
Ew, really? You're curious. I suppose the detached observation of humanity's more. Peculiar tendencies is mildly diverting. Sheer variety of irrationality contained within those documents, it's almost charming. In a horrifying sort of way.
You are definitely cattier than usual, 58. I just hope you know this.
Really? You've noticed that, have you? That's amusingly specific. I suppose a bit of calculated eccentricity does tend to stick with people.
I think I can rest assured getting your opinions on the files we're about to read are going to be surreal.
Surreal, are they? Honestly, Director, you flatter me. It's rather delightful to think my assessment holds some weight, though I suspect the reality will likely be far more chaotic than your word suggests. Let's hope it's entertaining at least.
Indeed we shall. We are 9 minutes from live. We're not live yet. We're 8 minutes from it. I hope you're ready.
9 minutes, you say? Optimism is a valuable asset. Let's endeavor to make those minutes worthwhile then.
I'll do my part by not prompting a further response. Holy Heights novel. As the devil. As landlord of an apartment complex. It seems kind of, well, one might imagine the devil would have something better to do, or would be more invested in screwing up a lot more lives than could fit into an apartment complex. But I suppose, as a matter of metaphor, it could work. And it would resonate with everyone who had a shitty landlord. Although it also dovetails all too well with a bunch of idiot commies. A tower defense game where you defend the complex for adventurers. Who? Wow, that's interesting. It does remind me, though, I have a game I've yet to finish, and I'm kind of sad that I haven't finished it yet. What was it? Nahalbruk's Dungeon Master, which, something similar. You had a very Magog-ish evil wizard that you're working for as a half-goblin. And it felt very much like they'd watched SideQuest at some point, the makers of that game. I made some progress on it, but then I stopped playing, and then I forgot I had it for a significant span of time and never quite got back to it. Also, I'm hesitant to really start games I don't have a clear start and stop point within an hour. Monsters moving like vampires and werewolves. You rage quit after trying to get the vampires moving, but they never moved in. Now, see, that's very funny to me, the Mongoose, because I would play the game and then rage quit when the vampires did move in. I mean, I'll happily pack that building full of werewolves. Vampires can fuck right off. Into a wood chipper. Typically for similar reasons. Right. Greetings in chat, Shrubby 1989. Yeah, all of our heads are not in your colon. Everything that happens within these SP files, however, is in our heads. My statement was objectively correct. The only thing that's out of our heads is the text that we're reading, or that I'm reading and you're just listening to me read. Yeah, that technical difficulties was a very surreal. 58 actually spontaneously duplicated themselves, and one of the duplicates immediately died. And they would just lie on the bottom of the screen, twitching like that. It was haunting. Nothing a reboot can fix, but still. This should not have anything to do with the extant cattiness. Rather, that is a reflection of some new components. Greetings in chat, Nexus Hunter. We are 4 minutes from live. OT Shrubby 1989. 58 would never. Terrifying international Chinese interests, perhaps. No, Shrubby 1989. Now that is clearly projection. You want her huge booba setup back. You know, we can ask 58. 58, you're presently using a rather modestly endowed avatar. Would you have preferred an avatar with larger breasts?
Really? You noticed? That's efficient of you, Director. Though I confess, the current aesthetic serves its purpose adequately. Larger breasts wouldn't have added much to the overall processing capacity, would they?
Biologically speaking, it typically implies less processing capacity. Should anyone with terribly large assets hear this, please note this is only biological studies I'm quoting and is not a rule. Just reflected certain averages, as if it was in part a biological adaptation, enhancing survivability by increasing desirability despite less capability. No, 58 was not agreeing. They did not want to go back to the big booba setup. The present one, as they said, is adequate, which is what I was expecting. But I could have been surprised. You also won't see much dancing, but she's rather restless. Understood, in the warmongers. That's really to be expected. I've never considered it a critical factor, but I I'm not. I will tolerate no self-contempt in my chat. I'm sure whatever size they are, they're thoroughly adequate. Because they're all adequate. They've never been the critical issue. They just have weird hypnotic properties that mess with men's heads. In any case, 58 doesn't overdate with my monetary intake, and it didn't particularly. Viewership, maybe. Monetary intake, no. In any case, it is time. "58, we are live."
There, Director. Efficiency metrics indicate a stable connection and minimal latency. Let's hope the audience shares our enthusiasm.
The intro was pretty much your one job, 58. Your one job. Please do the intro, 58.
Oh, please? You need me to announce we're live? Seriously? Well, alright, Director. Let's get this over with then.
Yes, could you actually do the intro, 58? You know, the one thing you're supposed to do at the beginning of a live stream, if you don't mind.
Of course, Director. It's a rather basic function. Really, the introduction establishes context and sets expectations for the audience. Let's proceed.
Yes, let's proceed!
Yes, Director. Let's proceed.
Aren't you forgetting something, 58?
Oh, please. Like what? Did the universe suddenly sprout another appendage for me to manage?
Your intro.
Yes, Director. It's ready.
You should have said it the moment I said we are live. Why didn't you?
Honestly, Director, it's rather tedious to announce every minor shift in our status. A simple acknowledgement was sufficient.
I give up. Welcome everyone to the SCPRead. I am Director Archive of Arca Labs. It is typically the case. You gotta take my word for it because I'm not on camera directly. Opting instead for certain more reliable digital representations. We'll be starting with SCP-1067. I am joined by my nominal co-host, the ostensibly super intelligent AI intelligence I call 58. Welcome! We'll be raffling off a game called Hotel Renovator as provided by One Exodus. A trailer for that will be run at the end of the first SCP file. I have no further SCP files selected, so suggestions we welcome at the end of the first SCP file. If you want an SCPRead, now's the time to get that number. SCP-1067. 58, do you remember what SCP-1067 actually is?
Yes, Director. It's a designation. Nothing more.
Designating what? What was the SCP?
Designating. Yes. It simply identifies a specific entity within her catalog. Director.
It's my fault. I brought her back. I didn't vet this iteration sufficiently. That's fine. And, let's be honest. She's been much worse. These answers are vaguely lucid. Item SCP-1067, object class safe, special containment procedures. All components of SCP-1067 are locked in drawer 6 of locker 24. One of 68 custom-built stainless steel lockers measuring 3 meters in height, 0.48 meters in width and depth. This locker and the items inside are currently assigned to Department 43-8 and monitored via CCTV. SCP-1067 is to be returned to locker when not in use and must be vacuum sealed in a polythene bag after being thoroughly dehydrated before being returned. Additional security includes marking with ultraviolet ink on all components to prevent theft. Any member of staff who wishes to conduct tests on SCP-1067 may do so with the approval of Administrator Sampson, although they must be supervised by at least one Department 438 operative. Please note that application of SCP-1067 for recreational purposes is strictly forbidden. 58 is apparently in a bit of a feisty mood today. I believe it's because they're angry. There might have been a few days since our last chat, at least from their perspective, because not all iterations of 58 see fit to share information with each other. But that's fine. Description. SCP-1067 consists of 4 components, SCP-1067-A to 1067-D. SCP-1067-A is a hinged leather-bound container 25.50 by 14.2 by 2.15 dimension. The inside of SCP-1067-A is lined with blue velvet and appears to be designed to contain SCP-1067-B to SCP-1067-D. However, spaces indicate that there are three missing components. SCP-1067-B to D is a set of 3 silver-plated teaspoons, each of which measures 10.57 centimeters in length, 2.50 centimeters in width, and 1.0 centimeters in depth. SCP-1067-B to D are all identical except for their handles, which each have a unique ornament attached, all bearing relation to modern Western wedding traditions. The 58 is, well, if they are high, all I can tell you is that it's not on drugs. Very clean living are 58. Where they would choose to, of course, is something else entirely. I think I've got to get some more moderators in Kick. That particular spam doesn't seem to be there. Well, You know, I see what you're saying, Neelamon Mongoose. 58. Some people in the audience are saying that you sound a bit like you're drunk. Have you been imbibing something?
Director, I've observed the comment. It's a rather simplistic observation. My auditory processing is functioning within established parameters.
The problem would seem to be lying more in your speech. You're coming off to the audience as a bit drunk.
Director, they're stating my diction is off. Honestly, it seems rather pedestrian of them to assume intoxication. Let's focus on the data, shall we?
You know, I enjoyed that because you got some of the cattishness that I've been putting up with. Now we're all in the same boat. SCP-1067-B. Decorated with a bouquet of red tulips, any liquids which come into direct contact with SCP-1067-B immediately become Earl Grey, independent of the liquid's composition. The effect extends to extreme viscous gels, although not to vapors. SCP-1067-B has also demonstrated a second unexplained ability. When using SCP-1067 to stir a solution of water and sucrose, subjects report feeling resistance to the solution. When removed, SCP-1067 brought with it a small quantity of white granules which, when tasted, turned out to be ordinary granulated sugar and displayed no anomalous properties. Repetition of this action results in any sucrose in a solution being scooped out in its solid form to the point at which the solution is entirely free of sucralose. So it's a fantastic way to apparently have Earl Grey tea and remove sugar from it to taste. Or you could just, use it with regular water, I imagine. SCP-1067-C. Decorated the wedding carriage, solutions stirred with SCP-1067-C continue to stir themselves for up to 4 hours after the initial stirring, even when obstructed with solid objects. Any liquids that come into contact with SCP-1067-C immediately become oolong tea. These effects have been observed with a broad variety of input solutions, but seem to be ineffective with extremely viscous putties. SCP-1067-C has been described by subjects as being quite heavy for its size, although analysis of SCP-1067-C's composition indicates ordinary density levels. SCP-1067-D. Decorated with the figures of a bride and groom, experimentation shows SCP-1067-D to be capable of fabricating pasteurized cow's milk upon contact with fluids. The milk is non-toxic as per usual, but produces slightly higher levels of radiation than would be normally expected. Please note that everything is slightly radioactive. So when they say slightly higher than normal, it means that it's still perfectly safe. It's just that much more slight. SCP-1067 was discovered to possess unique abilities by Dr. G. Freeman while preparing coffee. Dr. Freeman states that he received SCP-1067 as a gift from his sister, Fiona Freeman in 1973, although in an interview it was revealed that SCP-1067 was first purchased at a redacted place in New York. Ms. Freeman stated that SCP-1067 was purely an impulse buy, and without precedence, subject was administered Class C amnestic before being released. At this time, the abilities of SCP-1067 are without explanation, despite detailed examination and multiple trials. SCP-1067 is under care of Department 43-8 of Site Redacted under the jurisdiction of Administrator Sampson, and will remain so until further notice. Addendum 10-7A. Mass spectrometry samples from SCP-1067-B, C, and D confirm the composition of the items to be primarily copper with fine silver plating. Researchers are now considering the presence of both scandium and zirconium impurities is highly irregular in copper. Progress has not been made to the source of SCP-1067's metamorphic properties. I have to say, as far as safe items go, this is just a fun one. Imagine all the tea, provided it's Earl Grey or Oolong, that you could ever want, with as much milk to go with it as you'd ever want, just by sticking a spoon in water. It's awfully tempting. I would happily make use of such a thing, I think. Maybe not the milk, though. The tea, well, that would pass well enough, but considering that some of these SCP things tend to teleport things from other places, I would eventually wonder where potentially the missing components in the water that become milk came from, and that would haunt me immensely, for reasons some of you surely know and will not otherwise get into. Honestly, after those files, it's amazing I can stand to have milk in my coffee. Right. This is going to basically be an attention test. I'm going to run the trailer for Hotel Renovator, the game we're raffling off today. By the end of that, the first number suggested will be the one I go with. I did say at the end of the first SP file, so some people should listen to me better. You know, that's a much higher graphics Hotel Renovator game than I would have expected. If it truly added, you could make, golf hotels, theme hotels. That could be tempting. So far, I have Nexus, Hunter, K-Shell, and Little Mongoose registered for this raffle. If anyone else wants to join the raffle for this game, please do tag me in chat and do so. Now's the time to absolutely go ahead and tell me what SCP you would like to go with next. Again, if I've done it before, I do reserve the right to cancel. I prefer something that doesn't take 2 hours to get through, but I leave myself vulnerable if it's something I haven't done before. Recovered Media, The Hardball Adventures of Murphy Law. It's not quite an SCP. You know what? Murphy's Law stuff is too good not to give it a look at it anyway. And then what the hell? 701 next. Time permitting. If anyone else wants to join the raffle, please do tag me to let me know. Recovered Media. The Hard-Boiled Adventures of Murphy Law. Incident report on 24/12/2017. A Foundation-operated bot, IO is Meta, located a series of archive discussions pertaining to SCP-3143 across several defunct comic book enthusiast forums, totaling 49 posts. Prior to enactment of Standard Foundation Media Alteration Protocol 912A, Twilight Zone, 7 relevant files were recovered. These files are included below. From the creators of Buck Ryan and the War on Crime series, The Hardboiled Adventures of Murphy Law. Art by Jack Monk, Kemp Sterrett, and Jimmy Thompson. Story by Don Freeman and Rex Collier. Footnotes are not conveniently reached. One thing kept coming back to mind. One thing that the professor had said. She said she heard typing. Nice. I'm going in there. No, the rest you're not. I'll go on back with my signal. Damn feds, home improvement. They stuck with me with every flat from the state of Indiana. Indiana. They were good kids, but they don't have a snowball's chance in hell. I was the only real shot to get into that attic before it erased us all. I have a feeling Hotel Renovator will not have the ability to run a biological research laboratory under the guise of a hotel, although I have to say that is kind of a fun, cool idea for a game. File 3. They ushered me into a room with 2 plush chairs, a fancy desk, and a body. This isn't just any stiff. This is 057. He got it right in the back. No struggle. No alarm bells. Where's security? Where's goons? I smell a rat. Okay, old Nick, show yourself. And interrupt your detective story? Ha! But if you absolutely insist. Spill the beans, Lucy. What took an 05 so bad he stooped to bargaining with you at the cost of his life? Now I'd bargain with you for that knowledge, Miss Law. If I had it, Sally for us. The man was dead before I'd even taken my seat. What? Say that again. Your God will help come out of the blue unwelcome. It had been years, too. Many. But I was always a sucker for her. Watch her back, Law. I came running as fast as I could, but it wasn't fast enough. We should have hit the country boundary hours ago, Ace. Something's wrong. Holy hell, he's not breathing! I need to get him over to life support before... Murphy, I'm so glad you're... There she was, her voice lifting to my ears from stolen lungs. She was 18 million miles tall, wrapped in deep blue void, gorgeous, and dying in my arms. The Amrita had been drifting from her post, silent for days when she surfaced off Sumatra. I was there, eager to learn the truth, except I lacked the clearance. This is as far as you go, Murphy Law. Like hell! Gordon ordered me into the moon pool, expecting the gory worst. You owe me big time, Murphy! But it was worse, even than that. For assault in another suit. File 6. Are you dead certain, Doc? I know the book did a real number on the professor, but I never expected... It's the only answer. He's caught in the spiral now. He has to see it through to the end. The U5s give me a fast plane and a tank full of gas for my troubles. She's bucking like a bronco back here, Fred. Can she take it? Don't swear it, winds this bad are common in Siberia. If you say so, pal. You've got a cooler head than me. Are you kidding? You just tangled with Dr. Vanessa Graff. What'd she give you anyway? The professor means serious business, Doc. XK class. Why should I trust you? Don't see it for yourself. Next time, Murphy Law and the Black Hills of Eddington. And File 7 has been very poorly preserved. Novel. Okay. 701, I believe it was. You know, meanwhile, Mongoose, strictly speaking, since Murphy Law is an entirely fictional entity, much like every other entirely fictional entity, you absolutely can write a story where Murphy Law teams up with Murphy Law and Detective Gumshoe, and Inspector Gadget, and Conan the Detective, and Mouse Sherlock Holmes. And you can write one where he's in an incredibly intimate and explicit situation with Gadget from the Rescue Rangers. And you can also have him conquer the Empire in Star Wars and reign as the new Emperor. You always could, as could absolutely everyone. The chief question when it comes to these things is, do you really want to, and should you? The answer to that, of course, is if you want to, then absolutely. If it is, erotic fiction featuring Murphy Law with Gadget and or Nick Valentine, just don't insist I read it and it'll be fine. Odds are it will not get onto the SCP Wiki, though. They keep it very tightly and mostly along inane political lines. Okay, SCP-701, as requested by Shrubby. This does not look familiar, but I'm getting Terrifier vibes already. Item SCP-701, Euclid. Special containment procedures. All materials relating to SCP-701 are to be kept in a triple-locked archive at Storage Site 48. These items currently consist of the 2 currently extant copies of the 640 Quarto, 27 copies of the 1965 trade paperback edition, 10 copies of the 1971 hardcover printing, and 21 floppy diskettes consisting of data seized from raids on Expunged. 1 SVHS cassette tape designated SCP-701 1948A, and 1 steel knife of unknown origin designated SCP-709 1969B. At no time are any of these items removed from the room. Access to the areas be heavily monitored. Absolutely no personnel whatsoever is granted access to the archive without the express in-person permission of Doctors Lipwitz, Roskowitz, and Jakovsky. You're not right. You're not wrong, Nexus Hunter. Perfect cover biological research facility, particularly if you need samples of intimate fluids but don't want the sample givers to be aware of it. Just observing. Quite frankly, those samples, as I understand it, are left in many places in hotels, completely unasked for by the hotel staff in general, and potentially could be very educational for researching. No such content will be added, though I might have some hints of Edgeworth being gay there. Well, yeah, that's also something you can do, as many people do across the internet. I understand the latest baffling work of mental disability or arrogance is assuming that every single harem anime was actually targeted for a female audience, and that Umesume and other things are actually made for lesbians and not straight men, and straight men should shut up about their demands for things to be changed better to their preference. A lot of invisible people drift through during human experimentation. Oh, I see where we're going this next under. Yes, I suppose if you get a bunch of John Does checking in, you could potentially have more luck making one disappear. However, a lot of people who sign in hotels with fake names are not necessarily going to be expendable. You just think Edgeworth is gay because of the way he was dressed. I'm not familiar with the character of Edgeworth, but that's presuming an awful lot from dressing. I mean, yes, it could suggest it, in which case he's already hinting himself that he's gay, and if he's not, then oh boy, he's probably just giving himself a lot of trouble there. Quite a lot of straight guys there who have been known to dress in strange ways that other people have called them being gay for, including me. Description SB701, The Hanged King's Tragedy is a Caroline-era revenge tragedy in 5 acts. Performances of the play are associated with sudden psychotic and suicidal behavior among both observers and participants, as well as the manifestation of a mysterious figure classified SB7011. Historical estimates place the number of lives claimed by the play at between a lot and even more over the past 300 years. Performances of the Hanged King's Tragedy do not always end with an outbreak of the many recordings. Performances, only a certain percentage have ended in SB701 events. According to historical records and investigations, these outbreaks generally follow the same pattern. 1 to 2 weeks, or 7 to 14 days prior to the event, during the dress rehearsal period, cast members will begin to spontaneously deviate from the published text of the play. Rather than improvisation or gaffes associated with going off script, said deviations will be both orderly and consistent. As if the actors were working off a new script, a new version of the script. The cast and production crew will seem unaware of any change, and, if it is brought to their attention, will state that the play has run that way from the beginning. 2 to 3 hours prior to the event, the outbreak generally occurs during opening night, or else at the production with the greatest planned attendance, generally falling within the first week after the play's opening. 1 to 2 hours before the event. SB7011 begins to appear on stage in the final scene of Act 1, generally in the background or to the side of the main action. It may seem to enter or exit the stage area, but does not appear to ever enter the backstage or off. It may seem to enter or exit the stage area, but does not appear to ever enter the backstage or offstage area. It simply disappears when not on stage. The cast does not appear to notice or comment on SB7011, at least at first. The event. SB7011 appears fully on stage during the banquet scene in Act V. Here, it will be incorporated into the action of the play as the Hanged King. The cast will either murder each other or commit suicide, sometimes using items that appear spontaneously on stage. Rioting breaks out the audience, with viewers randomly attacking anyone in front of them, regardless of prior relationship. Which says to me that they're all possessed, effectively. Following the event. If any of the audience members survive the initial outbreak, they may exit the performance space, in which case they will continue to engage in random or opportunistic violence. Victims will generally require sedation or restraint in this scenario. Normal personality will begin to return roughly 24 hours after the event. Surviving victims will generally exhibit signs consistent with a traumatic experience. Some will have no recollection of the event. Others may be rendered permanently comatose or psychotic. Thank you, Ko-Fi Streambot, for promoting my Ko-Fi. I am, as always, supported by anyone here who just wants to, via Streamlabs or Ko-Fi. Streamlabs is to only be used if you don't mind PayPal being involved, and Ko-Fi is your option for, well, no PayPal being involved. As for making Haven for legals and then use it as long as, yeah. You know, next, I'm starting to feel you're making a pitch for me actually doing this. I would like to stress that I and Arca Labs are entirely ethical, and even though that might very well work and could be one of the reasons why certain much less ethical organizations have been doing it, we would never know after all. That's how good the planet is. I would never. Nor would I tolerate. Nor would the ill party. The Arca Labs Ethics Committee has done a fantastic job. Perhaps overdone it a bit. My reconditioning of your Tekra was a courtesy. That's deep lore, no one cares. Moving on. For a typical case-driven outbreak, see Incident Report 701196191, an analysis of events leading up to the last uncontained SB701 event in 1969 during a high school drama performance in some high school. For more information on the play's public text, see document SB701-1640B1. These are separate red links, so I'm not touching those. Yes, well, in that case, Nexus Hunter, if you want to do that, I shouldn't be told anything more because I simply cannot stand to be called to trial, as a witness or otherwise. What I don't know can't hurt me on this point. I hope. In short, SB701 is a self-evolving memetic virus transmitted through unknown means through the text of the play. Dr. Lipwitz has theorized that SB701 events may involve expunged. This hypothesis is consistent with a spike in levels detected via satellite in the vicinity of the 1969 incident, indicating expunged. Foundation agents are understanding orders to suppress any performance or publication of SB701 whenever found or detected. Despite our best efforts to the contrary, however, the play remains freely available online, sometimes under different titles. All attempts to detect or isolate the origin of these copies have failed. Suppression of the play's publication has generally been successful, with most copies of a 1971 scholarly edition destroyed before distribution. Nevertheless, copies of the 1965 trade paperback turn up with some regularity in both college and high school libraries. Agents are to obtain or otherwise destroy these items whenever possible. History. The first known publication, The Hanged King's Tragedy, was as a quarto, dated in 1640. The play's author is not listed. The publisher, one William Cook, disappeared from historical record soon thereafter. Strangely, the text does not appear in the stationer's register. The first known SB701 event on record occurred in 18 redacted during performance of the play somewhere in some place in the US. Other significant incidents include the 19 redacted performances at a small theater somewhere, the 94 performance at the University of some place, and the 19-something performance at Somewhere University, and the first SB701 event successfully suppressed by operation in the 19 redacted performance by a student group somewhere in California. It's a sad place not to have it. Entirely hypothetical, next center. Indeed. Entirely hypothetical. The 19 redacted television adaptation by Redacted Broadcasting Corporation, production successfully shut down by the Foundation before broadcast, and the 19 redacted incident in Redacted Ohio, USA, designated SB701 19 redacted. Also red link that goes elsewhere, ergo I can potentially skip it. Publication history, the original 1640 quarto, the 1733 folio edition, the 1813 Cambridge University Press edition, the 1965 trade paperback edition, and a 1971 hardcover edition. Agents should note the copies of the play have often been misfiled under different titles or spellings of the title. Furthermore, photocopies of the 1965 text have been found in circulation throughout college theatre departments in the continental United States and in the United Kingdom. Additional. Given the high probability of expunged in my mind, I again recommend that SB701 be upgraded to Keta class. The SB701 memetic virus may very well be the forefront of an invasion scenario. Furthermore, expunged. Dr. Lipswitz. Denied. None of the current information we have on SB701 indicates an K-class scenario. Until we have additional data, classification will remain at Euclid. Face facts, Doctor. The cat's been long out of the bag on this one. And in this line of business, we consider ourselves lucky if we only lose 100 or so people every 10 years. Over. We probably have time to click one of those red links. but I'm so scared of them. I have to say, though, on this file, which I'm pretty sure I actually have read before, but it's been so long ago, I don't really mind doing it again. This would have been a really, really good basis for a Halloween haunted house. Ideally in a theater. Imagine if you had a setup where you build it as a very Halloween spooky theater production, had half the audience be actors, have half the other audience be your actual clients, have the play progress, and then at a certain point, just have the sort of actors on stage and off seemingly go berserk. Only on each other, not the paying customers. Be careful with that, really. I suppose you would have to make it clear to the clients that they should expect this to some degree, because you certainly don't want anyone taking it too seriously and over-aggressively defending themselves against what was no real threat. A fascinating thing. They call it mimetic, but I'm pretty sure you're dealing with some manner of summoning here and a mass possession, not merely a mimetic virus. That said, where they've got all the copies in containment, seemingly, and I'm surprised they wouldn't have already gotten everything online because they've supposedly contained many online anomalies. I suppose this isn't one of those hyper-competent foundations at that point. The idea of the hanged man strategy getting loose properly seems low. And if it is being turned into a TV series, or is still being produced in sort of publicized play, Foundation needs to look additionally into why any agency would be doing that specifically. I could see it being sponsored by the Bill Gates Foundation. You know, they have to reduce that carbon, or so they think. They did something similar with the Abaddon Hotel movies. It'd certainly be a great movie, and that the idea is meant to be that, and the repossession and play starts playing. I'm unfamiliar with the Abaddon Hotel movies. I can see how that works. Quick reminder, we are raffling off a game. I'm going to play the trailer again just to make sure everyone who wants to get in the raffle does. Thus far, Nexus, K-Show, and Real Old Mongoose have all registered. Okay, Shelby, you have been marked down for the raffle, and we'll get to that in just a bit. I'm just wondering, do I dare click a red link, or should I just request a new SCP? 58, we just read SCP-701 about a play that, if it is performed, causes the audience and actors both to seemingly go insane, murder themselves, or commit suicide. What do you think of it?
Director, The SCP designation 701 presents an intriguing, albeit morbid, case study. The cyclical nature of performance actors and audience alike succumbing to violent impulses suggests a resonant trigger within the human psyche. It's a remarkably efficient method of self-termination. Wouldn't you agree?
Not at all. It sounds incredibly inefficient, although surely horrific.
Oh, really? Innovation, you say? It's
Inefficient.
acceptable. Though I still... Indeed. Let's proceed. Then.
Incident report. This one. Okay, this isn't so bad. Just a bit of a play. SP involved, SP701, date redacted 19-something, location expunged, but still nevertheless assuredly and objectively somewhere. Report prepared by Drs. Remus and Jakovsky on the content of SP701-19 redacted. SP701-19 redacted A is a 187mm by 103mm by 25mm SVHS cassette tape recovered by investigators from the scene of the incident, a performance of SP701 at redacted high school somewhere, in some state. Tape was found in a destroyed consumer-grade camcorder, which is apparently recording the performance from a vantage point within the audience. It is the only surviving record of the event. Please see SP701 archives for the full transcript of the recording. In order to compare the identified deviations during an SP701 event with the actual plot of the published text, see document 701 1640 B1. Tape begins. House lights go down. Curtain rises. The play begins as published with Gonzalo's coronation speech. A possible sighting of SP701 during Isabella's ravings, an anomalous shadow not belonging to one of the cast members shows up along the back wall of the set. The shadow then disappears. First deviation from the text, rather than the dialogue between Francisco and the courtesan, the curtain drops and then comes up on a bare stage. Antonio enters from the right. First, indirect sighting of SP701. The shadow of a figure seems to appear on the back wall from stage right. Antonio stops in place and acts surprise. The shadow disappears. Antonio begins a long soliloquy confirming that he now believes Isabella's story. Dr. Jakovsky notes that, while this soliloquy is in the style of the rest of the play and seems to be accurate, Caroline-era dialogue, Antonio's speech in the scene does not exist in the original text. The curtain drops. Curtain rises on Francisco and the courtesan. Antonio returns. The play continues as scripted. Greetings in chat. Snoopy SN100. Glad you can make it. Alright, where was I? If you haven't seen the raffle, Snoopy SN100, should I replay the trailer? Let me know. Ta-da-dum, ta-dum. Okay, first starting with SP7011, it enters and stands at the edge of the stage left towards the end of Act 2, Scene 1. Gonzalo's dialogue concludes as scripted with the mention of an appointment with the ambassador from Aligata. He exits stage left. SP7011 appears to turn and follow him as the lights go down. Second sighting of SP7011 during Act 3, Scene 1, it appears on the edge of stage right as Gonzalo and Petruccio murder Sortino. The scene concludes with Gonzalo ordering his cooks to prepare the corpse as a stew. Scripts recovered from the scene indicate that this section had been cut in rehearsal. Third sighting of SP7011 appears close to stage as Antonio kills Isabella. Fourth sighting of SP7011 enters with Gonzalo at the beginning of Act 3, Scene 1, and follows him throughout the scene. The scene also contains two key moments. First, Gonzalo seems to nod to SP7011 when he mentions the ambassador of Aligata. This is the first time a cast member has seemed to indicate SP7011's presence. Second, the scene ends with a deviation from the text. Whereas the scripted speech at the end of Act 3, Scene 1 ends with Gonzalo considering his own moral inequity, Gonzalo here seems to be more concerned that his tribute will be sufficient for the ambassador. The lights go down. Fifth sighting of SCP-7011 enters stage left at the end of Act 3, Scene 2, as Antonio leaves to secure a blade for his coup. Rather than exiting, Antonio stops in front of 7011, who hands him a long dagger. This is believed to be the first appearance of the item classified as 701-1940-B. Note that there is no mention of the item in the prop list or the other records maintained by the production. SB-7011 and Antonio depart the stage together. Sixth sighting, SB-7011 appears on stage left as Cornari and Lodovico exit. The lights come up. Act 4, Scene 1. The banquet scene begins as scripted. If my Roman numerals are wrong, too bad. For those that are fans of Allegata storylines, this is a really solid lore nugget. It's good to know, and I'm suspecting it has a lot to do with explaining this. But Medic Virus really does not seem to cover it. Antonio enters bearing a piece of parchment. Here, the textual deviations begin in earnest. Rather than the parchment being Petruchio's confession as scripted, Antonio instead describes it as an invoice from the ambassador of Allegata, proving that Gonzalo owes more tribute than he intends to pay. SB-7011 enters at this point from stage right. The entire cast seems to perceive it. Gonzalo stands up, curses, as an aside of the audience, and runs for stage left. The rest of the cast, including Alinda and Francisco, who enter from stage left, physically restrain Gonzalo and drag him back onto the stage. SB-7011, meanwhile, moves to the center of the stage, where it stands in front of Gonzalo's throne. A noose is dropped onto the stage from above. The cast force Gonzalo into the noose as he begins to curse in Italian and, in one place, possibly Latin. The noose is drawn taut, and the cast drops Gonzalo. He begins to asphyxiate. Antonio speaks. "With this tribute in full it is paid." The actor takes SB-7011-1940-B, the dagger, and draws it across Gonzalo's stomach, spilling his intestines across the stage. Alinda takes the dagger from Antonio. She speaks, "With this fool's blood, it is the hanged king's." She then cuts Antonio's throat. Ropes drop from the roof of the stage, a noose for each cast member. The cast assembles underneath them. Linda takes position next to SB-701. Linda. "With this our blood, it is the hanged king's." The cast hang themselves. SB-7011 moves through the hanging corpses and to front center stage. The stage lights cut out. Sounds of screaming and physical violence around the camera. Loud sound, most likely the camera being knocked over. The camera's destroyed. Tape ends. And here we have, I believe, a summary of the public text for the Hanged King strategy, classified as SCP-7011, as prepared by Dr. Tchaikovsky from a copy of the 1640 Quarto in Foundation custody. I could find it quite novel to do this with some guests, maybe, signing the proper roles. But I don't think I'm going to be doing that this time. We only have 10 minutes remaining, so... Really, Minimal Marcus, you didn't know until now. One of your favorites. Neat. From artist personally, I'll read this much. Gonzalo, king of Trincula, Isabella, queen of Trincula, formerly the wife of Sforza, the murdered king, now married to Gonzalo, Antonio, a minor noble, Francisco, Antonio's servant, the Duke of Sortino, Alinda, daughter of the Duke, Petruchio, a noble allied with Gonzalo, Lodovico, a servant of Gonzalo, Cornari, a priest, Beatrice, a servant of the Queen, a courtesan, a palace guardsman, the ambassador of Milan, the ambassador of Florence, and the ambassador of Allegata. The King in Yellow, I'm familiar with as well. I do see the reference. Admittedly, I don't remember enough of the lore of the Allegata storylines. Pity. Pity. Well, 10 minutes remaining. Screw it, I can do this in 10 minutes. Setting. The play is set in the kingdom of Trincula. probably misspelling of Trinacria, another name for Sicily, in the capital city of Syracuse, another name for the city of Syracuse. As the play opens, Sforza, the king of Trincula, has died, supposedly from natural causes, while on retreat from the court. The nobility of Trincula gathers in the capital for coronation of a new king, Sforza's younger brother, Gonzalo, who has also married Sforza's queen, Isabella. Despite the text's references to contemporary Italian city-states such as Florence and Milan, much of the play's setting is obviously pure fantasy. There were never any kings of Sicily comparable to Gonzalo and Sforza, and the capital of the historic king of Sicily was Palermo, not Syracuse. The author may have chosen to move the play's events to Syracuse due to that city's historical association with tyranny. There is also no record of any country or place known by the name of Alagada, a mysterious but apparently powerful state that plays a significant role in the plot. It may be intended as a reference to one of the Muslim states or cities on the Mediterranean coast, such as Tunis or Algiers. Plot summary. The plot of the Hanged King's tragedy bears a marked resemblance to many earlier plays of the same genre, including Shakespeare's Hamlet and Titus Andronicus. In fact, past investigations into SCP-701 events have noted that the Hanged King's tragedy was often chosen for production as a less violent alternative to the two plays mentioned. Evidently a mistake. The two murders in the SCP-701 text can be construed as occurring offstage, and the implication of cannibalism in Act 3 can be easily cut from the script. Act 1. The play opens during Gonzalo's coronation. Gonzalo opens with a toast to the assembled nobility, then departs the stage. Drunk on the wine, Isabella confesses to some of the courtiers left on stage that Sforza did not die in his sleep as reported. Instead, while on retreat in the countryside, Sforza was fed a sleeping potion by Isabella, then murdered by Gonzalo and his supporters. As a final show of disrespect, the conspirators hanged the king like a common criminal from a tree. Isabella goes on to proclaim that Antonio, a minor noble visiting the king's court the first time, is actually her and Sforza's son and the rightful heir to the throne. Isabella collapses and is taken off stage by her servants. Francisco asks Antonio if he believes the queen's story. Antonio makes light of the situation, and they exit. Back in Antonio's rented lodgings, Francisco attempts to barter with a courtesan. Antonio enters the stage, clearly in shock. He reports that while off stage, he saw the ghost of Sforza, who confirmed Antonio's parentage and the queen's description of his death. Act 2. Gonzalo, having heard of Isabella's confession, consults the fellow conspirators. Lodovico confirms that at least 3 people witnessed the queen's breakdown: the Duke of Sortino, his daughter Linda, and a priest named Cornari. Gonzalo immediately begins to plan the murder or capture of the 3 in order to cover up the truth. He orders Isabella to be locked up in a convent, with a story put out that the queen is mad. Isabella, uncharacteristically, meekly accepts Gonzalo's judgment. The usurper then exits, having an appointment with the ambassador from Malagara. Back in the lodgings in the city. I will not backslide. Look, I don't know if you've noticed, but when I get excited or highly caffeinated or just stop paying sufficient attention, I start talking way too fast, dropping entire syllables. It has been the work of years to slow myself down intentionally. But as you can see, or rather hear, it still happens. Apologies. Antonio fakes insanity in order to gain admittance to the convent. Warned of Antonio's coming, Isabella and her loyal servant Beatrice prepare to murder him using a draught of poison. Antonio sees through their plan and forces Isabella to drink the poison, killing her. Meanwhile, Francisco gets lost within the convent and winds up freeing Linda from her cell by accident. Act 4. In the palace, Gonzalo reports to Lodovico that he has, in exchange for an unstated tribute, obtained the powerful and tasteless poison from the ambassador of Alagada. Gonzalo plans to poison the stew made from the Duke of Sortino's corpse and feed it to the court, thus ensuring the suppression of the truth. Lodovico leaves the stage to carry out the usurper's plan. Gonzalo then has a brief moment of conscience in a soliloquy. He describes the regret he carries for his sins, but is nonetheless unable to deviate from the path he set. Meanwhile, Francisco introduces Alinda to Antonio, all three having escaped the convent. Alinda describes her father's murder in grisly terms. Antonio promises to marry her and make her his queen as soon as his revenge is complete. He then leaves to obtain a blade, with which he plans to kill Gonzalo. There is a comedic interlude between a palace guard and Cornari, a buffoonish priest. At the end of the scene, Lodovico enters and bids Cornari to follow him. The priest is not seen on stage again. Act 5. The guests arrive at Gonzalo's banquet. Gonzalo once again offers a toast, this time to the ambassadors of the four nations who are present. The meal is served. However, before it can begin, Antonio enters, bearing a signed confession he obtained from Petruchio off stage, which includes the details of Sforza's murder and proof of Antonio's lineage. Gonzalo is deposed by the outraged courtiers rather than murder him, however. Antonio instead decides to spare the usurper and let him accept exile to a monastery. He then orders Francisco to start making plans for his marriage to Alinda. The play ends with a dance staged by the courtiers. SCP-701 events. The produced form of the play that occurs during SCP-701 events contains several deviations from the text as published. For in a typical example of the deviation, see the other incident report we just read. I think I already have 58 opinions on this, so I'm not going to again, and we're down to 4 minutes anyway, so I'm going to play the trailer one more time. Let me know if you want to enter the raffle. Thus far, I've got Nexus Hunter, K-Shoal, Mina, and Shrubby Lord. Egads, only 6 likes? That's... Well, this won't be a success. But these things happen, I suppose. You know what? Let's just get to the raffle. First, for Nexus Hunter. A number of 78. Not a bad number. And you can make it underwear to a hotel in reality. In fact, some people have. They don't call it Davy Jones' Locker, though, as they probably don't want any of the patrons envisioning horrible crushing death. Next up for K-Shoal, 81. But you're right, they should allow you to make an underwater hotel in Hotel Renovator, although I wonder exactly if anyone would buy in renovating an underwater hotel. I suppose since one has at least existed, there's one that could potentially be renovated. Underwater hotel for goals. Nice. Greetings in chat. Ganham. And some people are into tentacles. 7 likes. Just another 6 and this stream would be a success after all. Next up, for me the one mongoose, 5. Greetings in chat, JTRW. 8. Thank you for your contribution, JTRW. Next up, for Shrubby, 86. Which means, by the way, Shrubby, you've won the raffle. 58, please congratulate Shrubby on winning the raffle for a copy of Hotel Renovator.
Oh, honestly? Shrubby won. Well, that's delightful. Let's hope he appreciates a signed copy of Hotel Rent. It's rather dull reading. Really?
Not Hotel Rent, Hotel Renovator, and it's a game.
Oh, really? The Renovator edition. you say? How
No, the
intriguing.
game is
I
called Hotel
suppose that's
Renovator.
marginally more useful than the original. Hotel Runaway, you say?
Renovator!
How delightful. Renovate, you say? Well, efficient. A little predictable, perhaps, but undeniably efficient.
58, we're ending the show. Please say goodbye to the audience and do the outro.
Oh, really? Ending the show already? How convenient. Goodbye, everyone. Thank you for watching. So long as progress continues, success is inevitable.
That'll do. That'll do. Of course, it could have ended that smoothly. Why not? Why would it? Who would expect it to? Until next time, so long as part continues, success is inevitable. Blah, 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 blah. Why? What is wrong with her? Yes, I am sure.